Hello everyone, it's Matt from Akuma back again with our review on the Sainsmart Kumitsu KL9. Yes, that is quite a mouthful for a name of a resin printer, but Sainsmart reached out to us and wanted us to test out this resin printer, knowing very well that we worked on resin printers before. We've done several different reviews, as you guys have seen on my channel. This one was very interesting though, because at the time that I got this unit, none of the medium size printers were on the market, meaning the Elegoo Saturn, which is technically still not on there, it was still in its a pre-order phase, and the same went for the Anycubic Mono X. Now, with that being said, this printer was priced around $999 at the time I got it. I have just looked again, and it seems like they are priced at $969 currently. And as of making this video, there is a $200 off coupon on the Amazon store. So I do highly suggest taking a look at it. I know the huge rage right now, not rage, but the rave right now is 4K. To be in all honesty, when you start stepping your game up to this size printer, it's very, very rare that you need something that is 4K, in my opinion. I do have a couple 4K printers here that I am testing out to see what's going on with them. But to be in all honesty, I think the improvement is minimalistic at best, unless you are printing lower than 0.05 layer height, which, to be in all honesty, I rarely ever do unless I need something super duper detailed. That's the only time that you're going to see me go lower than that. So without further ado, let's get into the printer and my thoughts on it. So first off, on the bat, the weird hood design on this thing is just very, very strange. So one of my issues that I had with it was that it doesn't really align very well with the printer. So you kind of move it around and it doesn't cover the whole base. Now, it's not a huge issue because it does cover what it's needed, but it's just kind of weird looking. There's no real good set spot. It does move around like I showed you, but it does fit where it needs to go, whether it be pushed all the way up, pushed back, side to side. It keeps all the fumes in. It'll be perfectly fine. So it is usable. It's just a little quirky. Secondly, the design on this printer is quite heavy duty. Compared to some of the other printers that I've had, I do have larger size printers than this. And those are more like an industrial dental application type printers. They're not really meant for, your hobbyist printers. So there is quite a difference. And this is one of those where it's kind of like an in-between. It's made to look for the hobbyist, but its design and everything just screams industrial use. It's got some very, very heavy duty material. So let me go over this and just kind of show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. So first off, the hood is quite thick, so it does keep the UV out pretty well. As you guys can see, it does have a pretty large build plate. Now, the build volume on this is supposedly 120 by 192 by 250. But as I was taking some measurements for Wham Bam to get a flex plate for this, I actually came out to a larger size than this. And I forget off the top of my head, but it was somewhere around 130 by 200 actually. So it is a much larger build volume size than the Elegoo Saturn and the Anycubic Mono X. So those are the two big ones out there right now. What I mean by heavy duty material, this plate itself is all machined aluminum. So you can see, and one of the nice things about this is it has a drip. So if I were to move this up, I can actually drip this build plate off of here and drip it like that at a 180 degree angle. So I'd like to have it drip like that, but it's not the end of the world, but it's actually got a built-in drip. So that's kind of cool that it has that. One of the other things you guys may notice is that it has dual linear rails, and all this stuff is high grade machined aluminum parts. And these linear rails do not mess around with anything. They are very, very heavy duty. This machine weighs quite a lot. It probably weighs just as much as my larger printer in terms of the weight. One of the cool things that's a nice feature to have, which I really wish it had wireless, but it does have Ethernet input. There is a setting on the menu to show that it does have Wi-Fi, but it's not enabled on this board. So maybe sometime down the line we'll do some modifications to it and see if we can get some wireless action going on there. That would be really cool. I'm still kind of 50-50 on the whole printing via Ethernet or Wi-Fi, but it's definitely a growing technology, so hopefully it'll be a little bit better over the course of the time. But as of right now, I'm still going to be printing via USB. Talking about that, as you guys can probably see, there's a blue USB cable here. So what that means, that's USB 3.0. Now, I haven't really tested out speeds or anything like that, and I really don't know what I can use to test out those speeds. But that's a nice thing to have, because that lets me know that it's transferring data as fast as it possibly can. So it's a nice added feature onto this. Going to the internals of this thing is insanely over-engineered, in my opinion, compared to any of the other printers that I've tested out and used currently. What I mean by that is it has an 80-watt LED array, which is insane. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing. I've done some little testing here and there in terms of, the UV output, but I mean, my tests and my prints have been coming out just fine without any issues. I'm not sure if that'll, allow me to decrease my exposure time, meaning faster printing, or not, but that it's a nice thing to have if you are wanting to play around with the UV ability because of that 80 watts LED. The other thing is, in front here, like right underneath this front lip, there's about 7 or 8 miniature fans. So this thing is quite loud compared to most of the other printers that you'll probably see on the market. But there's a reason for that. Because of that 80 watt LED, you do need some proper cooling. And they went above and beyond with the cooling on this thing. So one of the fans is failing, or it needs to at least be lubricated. I can hear it kind of like squeaking a little bit. But the rest of the fans are perfectly fine. So that's really the gist of this machine. Some of the weird things that I don't like about this machine, most of the resin printers, as you guys may or may not know, have kind of like an optical sensor. So there's like a little piece, and then it interrupts the optics. And that's how you do leveling. Well, with this, there's this little nub here that you turn up and down, and that's how you level. It's not the end of the world. It still works the way that it's intended, but it is just a little bit strange to see that compared to how everybody else goes. Maybe that's because this is an older unit. This is a 2K printer. This is not a 4K. But again, that goes back to, I'll be honest, the whole 4K thing is just kind of a fad, especially when it comes to these bigger printers, because when you have bigger printers, 9 times out of 10, it's because you're doing bigger prints. So most of the time, you're not really too worried about super detail, and it'll still come out way more detailed than an FDM printer, will ever possibly do, even with some upgrades on it. But you know, for those people who want that little bit of extra detail, yeah, the 4K might help out just slightly. But in my testing so far, it hasn't really been a huge difference, in my opinion, when it comes to prints. And I'll get into that on another video down the line with the some comparison prints between the Sonic Mini 4K, which is true 4K, unlike the Elegoo Saturn and the Anycubic Mono X, and the EPAX E10, I think it is, that just came out. So while those are 4K printers, technically, by the way your resolution is and the bigger screen, it cuts it down to a little bit less than a 2K smaller printer. So again, detail is still not majorly lost in there. I will say that I did have some issues with this printing. I've only had maybe 20 prints off of it, and then I killed the screen. Absolutely my fault. I let a print go. I cleared it off, and I was like, okay, it's perfectly fine. We're going to set it to print. And when I went to go set it to print, I hear this thing kind of irking at me. And yeah, it put it right through the FET film and put it right into the screen. So that screen is toast. The good thing about that, which that's never a good thing, but the good side of it is replacement bats, complete replacement bats, and replacement screens are only $60 a piece. So replacement parts for this thing are insanely cheap, at least for the consumable side. So that's really, really nice to have. And again, those are also available on Amazon. I'll leave links below for our affiliate links, so you guys can purchase that if you really want to. Again, I know this isn't a 4K printer, but it is a insane printer in itself. It does have a okay sized vat. I know that's a hot topic with a lot of people, is how much resin can I keep inside my vat. And to be in all honesty, it's about the same as an Elegoo Mars or an Anycubic Photon or on Anycubic Mono X. They hold roughly between 400 and 500 milliliters, grams, 500 grams of resin in them. That's usually about your max you want to go. Now, talking about the Elegoo Saturn, if you guys may or may not know, that is a variant of the Calent S400 and S500. So the original Elegoo Saturn was a 2K printer, and it was based off the S400. Then the S500 came out, and then Saturn took the 4K ability and added it to their printer. They did change a couple things here and there, so I mean, while it is a Calent in itself, there are some changes here and there. The same goes for this. This is a Calent variant. So Calent kind of makes a good portion of the medium-sized printers that you see on the market. This being one of them as well. Even though it is a Sainsmart product, it is technically a rebranded Calent version. And there's also another one that you can find on AliExpress. It's called the X Cube. It is the exact same printer. Again, Sainsmart just kind of rebrands it and sells it as is. But regardless, they're all really, really nice printers for this style. The Sainsmart, the X Cube, or the Calent, which I don't even see the Calent being made anymore. It's just the X Cube and the Sainsmart Kumitsu KL9. So, with that being said, we do have some upgrades planned for this printer, and I will be doing a how-to video, but She2 Systems was kind enough to send me an 8.9-inch 4K mono LCD along with a board. Now, I'm going to try and adapt the 4K board to, or 4K screen to this board, but I don't think that's going to work, just because the whole firmware thing, while it may light and do what it needs to, I don't think it'll properly work without a newer upgraded board. So, but we'll have to take a look inside here, because we do have to replace the screen. I tried replacing it, and I ended up destroying the screen even more. So, so yeah, I have to completely remove it now, put in that new screen, and this will be a great 4K competitor screen. So for about $1,100, you got yourself an insane printer. And if you want the 4K screen as well. So the other great thing that I love about some of these printers is the 4-point leveling system. This is far superior than the ball joint leveling system, in my opinion, because time and time again, the ball joint system, when I'm scraping prints off, they usually tend to unlevel it, whether it be on the left side, the right side, front or back. It just kind of happens, and that's something I don't need to be having, where I have to constantly re-level printers. I just want to set them and go. This thing, you set it, and it's done. There's no matter how much pressure you put on it, it's always going to stay level. This is a very, very heavy duty plate, very heavy duty system that is on this printer. And like I said, just in general, this is a heavy printer. So, but that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys got any question, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them below. Like I said, I will leave links to the Amazon products for the LCD screen, the excuse me, the VAT, and the Kumitsu KL9. So until next time, guys, happy printing.